Well, good morning everyone, and how you doing today? Today we have a Hummer H3 that's getting a loud system in it. That's right, loud. We're not going for SQ, not going for center imaging. We're not worried about the perfect EQ curve. We're not worried about any of that. We want loud. To accomplish that, we're going with these. These are the Rockford loudspeakers. This is the Pro. We're doing 4 ohm. We're going with a set of T1 tweeters that are around here somewhere, which we'll show you in a little bit, in the little tiny spot up here, that hole right there. This guy just wants a system to make his ears bleed. That's it. That's all he's going for. He's going with some L7 15s. These guys right here. He's going with an Epicenter because he wants it to just be fat and crazy. We're just going for extreme carnage here. It's not all our equipment. Other than those loudspeakers and the tweeters we're putting, and a new radio, we're putting a 2330 in it because he's got like some Nessa thing in the dash. He's supplying the amplifiers. He bought these sound streams right here. What we've gone ahead and done is we've trying to figure out where we're going to put all this equipment in his cars because it's 215s. Big box, takes up a lot of room. He wants this giant SPV 70 battery. This guy right here, he wants us to run 0 gauge. So what we're trying to do right now is figure out where we're going to put all this stuff and make it fit, because the box, this guy, takes up most of the room in the back, and the battery's huge. We've already gone ahead and taken some of the car apart. Let's take a look at what we've done so far. We have the rear panel out here because it has the monsoon system. We wanted to see what kind of room we had behind this panel. We're thinking about making some kind of an amp rack that mimics the outside of the panel to mount all the equipment to. We're trying to figure out where we can put this huge battery because I really didn't want to just attach it here to the floor. So we've went ahead and removed the back seat. Obviously we have to fit the 0 gauge up through here somehow, so we don't know if we're going to end up removing this area here to try to come up the center. Not looking good though, because you can see these indentions right here. The seat sits flush on the floor, so there's not a lot of room to run any wire up underneath here, so even if we were to come up here, it doesn't look like it's going to work. The thing that has me scared is he's already had some work done in the car, and they've already screwed these panels back in on both sides. We're kind of leery of having enough room, plus they're not going to snap back in, and I obviously don't want to put a screw through these because there's wire underneath there. It's not the most brilliant way to fix that. So right now we're still kind of in the planning stages of trying to figure out where everything needs to go. So the next step is to go ahead and get the monsoon stuff out, and then we're gonna have to do a little bit of work up here. We need to do a 0 gauge ground on the battery because it's just got a little 8 gauge. We're definitely gonna need to change the ground terminal because it's not even tight. We're gonna go ahead and start digging into this some more. So let's get going. You guys ready? You ready, Fernando? All right, let's get to it. What we got going on, the battery will definitely fit where the factory subwoofer was, which is a bonus. We're gonna mount it into its sleeve. What we're gonna do is we're going to add these brackets here. We're gonna drill 2 holes, so there's 4 bolts attaching this to this metal frame, and then we have to bolt it into place. So to do that, we'll then go ahead and pull this out so that we can get to that metal up there, and then we'll put 4 bolts that hold that basket in place. We don't want to use the rivets because it's a heavy battery, so we want to make sure it's going through the metal with a bunch of washers so that it has as much strength as possible to keep that heavy battery as part of the car. Now the factory amplifier, as you saw, was right here, so this is the actual speaker plug here. We can go ahead and reuse that. I have to see if we have some form of harness that we can plug into that. I'm gonna search. This almost looks like a Volvo plug, so we'll see what we have, and we'll see if we have something that can plug into that. That would be cool. Next up, now that we've got that figured out, is we're going to move on to pulling the radio out of the dash because we need to get this out. The kit's all crooked, and I don't know why it's sitting. See how this is kind of flush and this is like pushed in 1/8 of an inch. I don't know if this is just a broken kit. I don't know what's going on there. We'll go ahead and get this out next. We'll start getting these A-pillars out, start getting the doors off, making sure we can fit the speakers in these doors, because these guys here have some really big magnets, so we want to make sure they fit. So this is the discovery portion of figuring out what we're doing, so you don't just jump in and go at it. You got to make sure everything actually fits in the car, and especially since, like I said, we didn't design it, we probably would have picked something a little bit more suitable for the space that we're dealing with. But all right, let's keep going. Come on, people, it's called a vacuum. Won't hurt you. Promise, doesn't bite, nothing. A little progress report here on the door speaker. This is the factory piece of crap Fernando just took out. Dude, what is going on with that? Oh, that's weird. You guys with the Hummers, I know this has been a question. Hey, all of a sudden my speaker stopped playing. This is the factory speaker. Look at this thing. This thing is just falling apart. It has this cool factory bracket here that mounts into the door. This is kind of nice that they give you these in this particular vehicle. We're going with this big guy here, and as you can see, this magnet is gigantic. It's huge. What we're doing is we're gonna go ahead and use the pack units here. Instead of 1 screw like the factory, we're gonna go ahead and get 3 screws plus the clip. We're gonna go ahead and put foam behind this. The nice thing about the Rockfords, they pre-foam the back, so we don't have to worry about that. This guy fits in here as you just saw, so we'll be able to get all 4 of these in the doors, no problems.
Already put foam in the back of the panel. We're gonna go and cut the wire and put some ferrules so we can have like a really nice solid connection.
All right, so as you saw while I was vacuuming, I went ahead and we just pulled out the seats. We'll eventually probably pull out the center console. We just wanted to get as much room in here as possible. Conveniently enough, airbag light already on. Think about running the RCA straight up the middle of the car, keeping them as far away from that 0 gauge as possible, giving these amps a fighting chance. Fernando's gonna keep going on these speakers. I'm gonna go ahead and start figuring out the amp rack option as far as getting that built, and then we'll just keep chugging along. All right, so we have our panel. Let's go ahead and grab our amplifiers in the epicenter and set that stuff on here. So we're gonna go ahead and mount the sub amp on top and then the 4-channel in the epicenter on the bottom. That looked like it would give us the most room for what we're trying to do. So it looks like 19 by 26 would be a good starting point. Now we went ahead and scored a line in this on the saw, just really shallow, so we have an edge that we know we need to bend this at. Alright, so there we go. There is our amp mount. Gone ahead and bolted it to the side. Now we can go ahead and start getting our stuff wired up and on here, and all our wires ran. Alright, so I was pretty sure I knew this plug, like I'd seen it before, and it turns out I have. It's one of our car AV cables. This one is the ISO replacement for a Volvo. This is the one we use when we do like the Volvo harnesses. It's this big green guy right here. It plugs right in. We've already gone ahead and depinned it because this was left over from another install we had done. I'd already taken all the wires out of this particular plug. Now what we need to do is match up these colors to the speakers that are in the car. Most of these are standard GM colors, and by that I mean you have dark blue, light blue, which is going to be 4. You have brown and yellow, which is going to be 3. You have light green, dark green, which is going to be 2. And you have tan and gray, which is going to be 1. Those are standard GM colors. Light colors up front, meaning the tan and light green are positive. Dark colors in the back, meaning the brown and the dark blue are positive for the rear. What we have also on here, it looks like, are the tweeter wires, which is a purple green and a yellow black. What we want to do is we're just going to go ahead and hit this with the tone generator real quick. Actually, we're just going to use the polarity checker. That would probably be way easier, and we'll make sure these are all what they're supposed to be. Looks like black is positive on the driver's side and green is positive on the passenger side. Now we want to go ahead and wire up this harness. So we've gone ahead and pinned this up to match into here. Now we don't have to cut off the harness. Cool. So the amp rack is all set and ready to go. It's attached to the panel. All the wires are run through. We have our sub wire here, our RCA wires down here on the floor along with our bass knob. We have our 4 power and grounds that will go to the battery. And we have the bass knob, of course, for the epicenter is in with the RCA wires.
Alright, so I finished to put all the speakers in with the tweeters. Now I'm gonna go and take the radio out and see what's the surprise behind the door number 1. We have 2 screws only. So we have an alarm.
Behind the radio?
Behind the radio, we have the alarm.
Oh, Metro harness.
And we have the Metro harness.
Oh, well, at least they used the harness.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you. Now the plan is to get that battery mounted so that we can get this into it. Plus we also have to figure out where we're gonna put the rear fuse holder. We're using 2 fuse holders. It's gonna be one back here by this battery, one under the hood by that battery. That way the wire going through the car is 100% protected. Let's get this thing out and attach those brackets. So the first thing I wanna do is go ahead and add 2 more holes to each one of these so I can have 4 screws on each side holding these in place. Alright, so we have our brackets in place. Let's get this thing into the car, drill some holes, get it mounted. So this is how it's going to sit. We're going to go ahead and grab a Sharpie, mark that. So now we need to go and remove the wheel well cover from the inside so that when we drill holes, we don't drill holes through the plastic. That works. We have the battery and the bolts in. We're gonna go ahead and put the nuts on, get this thing tightened up, and put back together. All right, battery's in. Yay. So like we said, we're gonna go ahead and replace this battery terminal here. This one is pretty much crap, it's not tightening up anymore. Now all we need to do is add 2 new ring terminals to this guy here. I'm not a fan of putting them under the thing like that. I like to actually put them on the bolts that are on the terminal. Now, if you're using one of these cool battery terminals and there's any kind of paint on it or anything like that on these portions here, if you're gonna use the ring terminals and screw them in like we're gonna do, make sure you sand all that paint off. Now, we've also gone ahead and made up a 0 gauge ground jumper because there isn't really one coming over here to the frame. There's this nice ground point right here, so we're just gonna go ahead and connect this to it. Ground is in. I'm gonna leave the fuse holder for Fernando. He's working on the back fuse holder right now. Let's check in and see how he's making out. Hey buddy.
Hey.
How's it going?
Oh, doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what do we got going on here?
This fuse is gonna be here, so we're gonna mount it over here.
Nice good
this
mount.
One, yeah, it's gonna come over here to the battery.
We're gonna go ahead and ground it down here underneath this rubber. How's everything else?
Everything's good.
Well, we got the radio out of the dash as you guys saw and everything. You went ahead and removed the center console also. So now the plan is for me to go ahead and start fixing that. They had an access wiring harness in there, so we're gonna go ahead and clean that up. We're gonna hook it up to our 2330, figure out why the dash kit's all messed up, and just get that whole portion going.